Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Dallas Mavericks defense, some of their plays against the Sacramento Kings in their previous game before this two-game road trip in Los Angeles, starting with the matchup against the Lakers on Wednesday. There's a lot that the Mavericks need to clean up from a habit standpoint, and also just showing some of the limitations in their defensive schemes based off personnel and also just matchups. And there's a lot to get into, so I'm just going to dive right into it. The Kings looked to pick on Luka Doncic early on in the game on the first couple of possessions by putting his man into the action, which was Harrison Barnes being used in some zoom actions with him receiving an off-ball screen from De'Aaron Fox, flowing into a handoff from Sabonis. And in this play, with Luka not getting through that initial screen, it's up to Derek Lively to step up to be able to account for Barnes. And with Barnes pausing on the catch, Lively was convinced that a shot was coming, flew at him, and Barnes was able to just have enough of an advantage to get downhill. Luka had to veer switch and account for getting vertical on the finish attempt, but he was too deep in the paint with Barnes just getting right into the finish and having the height and the length just to be able to finish on the way down without being impacted. The Kings come back the next play with the same approach, getting into a zoom action for Harrison Barnes to pick on Doncic. And this is where Doncic adjusts. Instead of trying to get through the off-ball screen and go over the handoff, he unders both, and the Kings get into a rescreen with Sabonis, which allows Barnes to get into the gap, play against Lively in a drop, and then throw the pocket pass with the bounce pass to Sabonis, who now has the ball with his heels touching the top of the restricted area, which is deep positioning for him to be able to just get into his pivots, his fakes, and then just get right into a left-hand hook and finish over the top of Lively's contest. De'Aaron Fox had very little resistance when he was making plays throughout this game. The Mavs rarely got into the ball and really pressured him and weren't physical with him. He was able to really get to the spots he wanted to and was able to just basically operate with pocket passes, finishing at the rim, taking pull-ups, and just trusting his teammates with, off-ball defenders really not being assertive either. So it was a pretty casual approach with a lot of results. After receiving a brush screen from Sabonis, Fox comes off this playing with pace and is, going to force the commitment from Derek Lively, the big defender who is in a deep drop. He steps up and he bites on a fake that Fox uses to get him to leave his feet. And as that developed, what you have now is Harrison Barnes is deep on a 45 cut, making contact with Grant Williams, the nearest help defender, to provide resistance, causing Williams to have both of his feet buried deep in the restricted area as Sabonis is at the top of the charge circle, making himself available for the pass. And at this point, it's very rare that you're going to get a favorable, officiating sequence in your favor. The bigger offensive player is trying to just play through contact. There's a crowd with Derek Jones just completely leaving his feet, and this just results in the officials calling a foul, even though there was some, thought that potentially Williams just got all ball on the replay. But, in those situations, the benefit of the doubt typically is going to go to the offensive player. To this point, De'Aaron Fox knows he's going to see drop coverage, so this allows him to comfortably get into the pull-up three. Derek Jones does an effective job of trying to contest with a rear-view contest, but this just doesn't impact the shot enough as Fox knocks it down. With Derek Jones not getting into the ball to apply pressure and instead sagging off to play the potential drive with his hands down, De'Aaron Fox knew that he was going to be able to get a clean look on a step-back three after breaking Jones down off the dribble, and that's exactly what happened, and he knocked down the shot. After Fox works up Derek Jones before the rescreen, before a spin, this was a situation where Fox is now in the gap against a veer switch with Derek Lively looking to recover against the quicker guard. Fox plays off of two in the paint, and he uses a fake on the landing after Lively had already fallen for numerous fakes in this game, and he gets into a fade in short range and just shoots over the top and converts. The Kings' activity off ball put the Mavericks in some tough positions. Here, Keegan Murray, lifts out of the corner, and it looks like he's going to get into an action with Sabonis screening for him. And with Luka Doncic, often trying to stay as the low defender so he doesn't have to really swarm in the half court or, take on some matchups where he's going to have to guard the ball. This puts Kyrie Irving in a position where he gets made to pay for looking to top block Keegan Murray. Murray, 45 cuts, and Fox throws a no look, one-handed live dribble pass just to make the most of the advantage to where, Derek Lively's not going to recognize that this pass is coming until it's already there. And Grant Williams, the low defender, is staying home on Harrison Barnes as a shooter and also didn't recognize, soon enough to be able to make an impactful rotation. He's just staying home. And Luka has to make a play in this instance. And, Murray just has a lot of size, length, and just flows right into a catch and finish and gets the job done. The Kings do a great job of staying active off the ball, especially on this possession, but a lot of this advantage is just created by not containing at the point of attack. Grant Williams jumps at Harrison Barnes on the catch instead of containing, the off-the-catch attack. This creates an opportunity for Barnes to get it to Sabonis, who then gets it to Malik Monk on the weak side. And this, with Luka Doncic having to account for Monk, this is a pretty easy turn-the-corner situation where he's able to, make a kick out. And then now it's a redrive for De'Aaron Fox against, Derrick Jones Jr. He gets into the paint, and now it's up to Tim Hardaway Jr. to provide help resistance near the restricted area, and Fox is able just to easily get into a finish. The Mavs need to be able to rely on their top players to be able to handle penetration at the point of attack, as opposed to allowing, redrives and just, getting the defense out of rotation and not being able to recover. There are a few things to consider when watching this clip. The first is that the defense continued to pick on Luka Doncic by putting his man into the action as the focus and making Luka have to work and to basically punish the Mavs for not being able to cover him up. And the other situation here is that Derek Lively, the big defender in this action, ends up continuing playing drop coverage. So the defense knows with that combination of factors on a rescreen out of a pin down, Duarte is likely going to get a clean look from three, and he made the Mavs pay with, Luka trying to go under and then essentially not being able to recover in time to make it a quality contest. The Kings have some really effective catch-and-shoot players that can shoot on the move, and in this situation, the Mavs look to send a double against Domantas Sabonis in the post, and Monk is relocating towards the ball. Josh Green has to cover a lot of ground, and he isn't on the shooting side of Monk on the catch. So this just is a situation where he could just rise up into a shot, isn't really that impacted by the contest, and converts. Malik Monk initiates this possession and flows into a side ball screen with Domantas Sabonis, but he rejects it. Dwight Powell is playing up, and with Monk getting by Dante Exum, he's playing with pace. This creates a situation where he could just throw that pocket pass, like a one-handed live dribble pass, and Powell has to work to recover. And, with the Kings staying active off the ball once again, this really complicates things for Kyrie Irving as the low defender before he can fully commit to kind of meeting Sabonis on the catch to pressure the potential finish. He isn't in a position to be able to do so, and Sabonis just, gets up, keeps the ball high, and finishes on the left side of the rim against a smaller guard. With Sabonis isolating near the nail on this possession with Dwight Powell guarding, the end result was something you would expect almost from the rookie big man who has had some foul trouble issues during the season. Powell had already closed space on the catch, had a hand up, and did not need to leave his feet jumping at a fake from Sabonis, who was going to, if he actually stayed true to that fake, would have taken a very tough shot, a low percentage shot, particularly for him. And instead, he was able to beat Powell, get downhill, and draw a foul deep on the attack. On this play, Dwight Powell felt the need to show help, load up on the strong side with De'Aaron Fox having an isolation possession against Josh Green. And this becomes a problem because Powell has to do what's called 2.9ing, which means basically staying in the paint for 2.9 seconds before getting out to avoid the 3 seconds violation call. And with JaVale McGee in the weak side dunker spot, Fox is able to make a high IQ play and wait for Powell to have to exit the paint before throwing a lob that ends up reaching McGee for a finish attempt. The Kings put Luka Doncic into the action again by having his man set a ball screen, but this time they flow into a flare screen with JaVale McGee setting it on, the switch defender, Derrick Jones Jr., to give an opening to Barnes on the weak side to be able to drift into the shot, and he's able to knock it down. The Mavs With the expectation being to cover up Doncic on defense, the rest of the unit is going to have to be very assertive and more aggressive, making these extra efforts. The Kings stayed active off ball, even in offensive rebounding situations. Luka Doncic's man, Keegan Murray, relocates from the weak side corner as an offensive rebound develops and makes himself available for a pass from JaVale McGee at the top of the key. And Doncic just completely loses track of him, and this forces Josh Green to have to cover a lot of ground and gets beat on the closeout attack. Murray's able to just drive hard left, gets by the initial defense, and then Doncic doesn't provide any help despite having no man to account for, and Lively is unable to get into a position to impact the finish attempt, and this is just an easy dunk for Murray. Derrick Jones Jr. attempted to apply full court pressure against De'Aaron Fox on this play, but provides no resistance while doing so. Fox is able to get into the paint, draw two after playing through contact, and on a spin move, he throws a drop-off pass to the trailing JaVale McGee, who ends up drawing a foul against Derek Lively in the paint. This was another play where Luka Doncic just kind of hovered off ball as a play developed with an offensive rebounding situation, and his man stayed active, relocating. And this time, after providing initial pressure on the drive by getting vertical, Tim Hardaway Jr. also just kind of floats in no man's land, with both Doncic and Hardaway assuming that there was someone that they could just kind of casually account for in the corner, but nobody was actually there, so they're just standing next to each other with no responsibility. Harrison Barnes just cuts straight down the middle of the paint. Hardy doesn't recognize this quickly enough. Barnes is already launching off of his left foot, getting into a finish attempt with Derek Lively having to try to clean up the mess, but he was on the other side of the rim as this play developed. Each of the Mavericks defenders are going to have to take more ownership of handling off-ball responsibilities and paying attention as rebounds occur. This was another possession where the Mavericks handled a lot of the possession overall very well. The initial actions were accounted for, and it basically broke down after Grant Williams lost track of his man shaking up from the corner to the wing and then not being able to handle the closeout well after being, having to cover ground on the catch. He has to respect the three. He has to get out on this catch, and then Barnes just blows by Williams, gets downhill, and then makes the drop-off pass after forcing Lively to leave his feet and help at the rim, and Sabonis is able to just stay patient and then finish on the left side of the rim. The Kings threw a lot at the Mavs on this possession. They started out in double drag. Tim Hardaway Jr. goes over the first screen, unders the second. There's no advantage with Derek Lively in a drop. So the Kings flow into a double stagger play for Chris Duarte, and the Mavs handled their switching assignments well. Kyrie Irving and Grant Williams communicate with each other. They stifle this action, so the Kings now flow into a third action, getting into a zoom action handoff here with Luka Doncic's man being involved. This flows into a situation where Luka unders the off-ball screen, and then he tries to go over this this handoff after Keegan Murray pauses on the catch to prompt Doncic to think that a shot's potentially coming, and then now Murray's getting downhill, plays off of two, and is able to get the pass out to Harrison Barnes, and this possession continues here where the Mavs actually had strong overall execution. Kyrie Irving handles this initial sequence with good positioning, tracks him on the drive by sliding laterally. Barnes has to play through contact, faces a stunt from, the nail help, and where it all falls apart is Grant Williams fell asleep on the weak side. He's staring at the ball while Duarte is cutting backdoor. Barnes is able to get the ball to him on a bounce pass, and no one's left to account for the finish. The Kings continued to put Luka into the action by getting creative with off-ball movement, screening, cuts, all that good stuff. And on this play, they start out in double drag, and it flows into what seems to be a delay action that gets into a handoff with Duarte and Harrison Barnes just to really gauge the switching. And with the Mavs continuing to switch, and then Kyrie Irving being cognizant of not giving up the 45 cut as they did earlier in this game, this really forces Doncic to have to be the one, accounting for this handoff. And he has to come up into the action. He unders the handoff, and this automatically flows into a rescreen for the read for Sabonis. And this gets into a tough situation because the Mavs have to veer switch, deep on the drive. There's a corner relocation from Keegan Murray. He's now on the strong side as a relief option. And with the pass made out to him, Doncic is the one left responsible for having to get out on the contest, and he's not going to be able to do this quickly enough to really impact a shot, and Murray makes him pay, and the shot rattles in after hitting the backboard and bouncing back in. Once again, the Kings put Luka's man into a zoom action to make him work. Sabonis gets the handoff to Barnes. Luka goes under, so Sabonis sets the re-screen, and then Barnes gets into a hostage dribble to get Doncic on his back. And then this really forces the commitment of Grant Williams, the low defender, to tag the roller. Derek Lively's already in the paint. So this leaves Keegan Murray wide open in the corner. This forces, Tim Hardaway to have to make this closeout. And in this instance, Murray uses, a subtle fake on the catch. Hardaway has to fly at him. And then Murray just takes a wide angle on the closeout attack. Off the catch, gets into the paint, plays off of two, and he just has a big size advantage over Hardaway and just finishes over the top with the right-hand floater. On this play, the Mavs tried to blitz De'Aaron Fox after receiving a handoff from Sabonis. This puts Sabonis in a short roll situation, and with Duarte staying active off the ball, relocating to the strong side corner from the other side of the floor, this creates a relief option after Kyrie Irving commits to basically cutting off Sabonis on the short roll and help. This forces Josh Green to have to go corner to corner on the contest. That's just a ton of ground to have to cover, and the contest isn't made tightly enough to really impact a shot in any way. Duarte makes him pay and knocks it down. One of the different looks the Mavs threw at the Kings was to have Dwight Powell play up in ball screen coverage and get his hands vertical, so the entry pass to Sabonis on the short roll will be more challenging. But as you can see, while doing this, the Mavericks felt compelled to have to overhelp at the nail with Tim Hardaway Jr. Rotating off of the weak side wing. And then also you have Kyrie Irving as the low defender who's already at the top of the charge circle. So this just is a complete show that the weak side is going to be wide open. And Fox does a great job of playing with pace and then throws a live dribble one-hand pass to maximize Chris Duarte drifting towards the corner to have a clean look on the catch, and he knocks it down. This is just a quick look at the disadvantages of having a smaller set of perimeter players. As plays develop, the big may have to account for the actual shot creator. Here, Chris Duarte takes a pull-up, a tough look, misses, and it's up to Tim Hardaway Jr. to box out Sabonis. He's unable to do so, and Sabonis gets an easy tip in. Here's another example of the downfalls, or here's another example of the limitations of having a small set of perimeter players. Just another random set of circumstances force the Mavericks to have their big on a perimeter player. Tim Hardaway Jr. once again has to try to fight with Sabonis. This time it's in the middle of the floor. He makes himself available for the entry pass at the top of the charge circle and draws a double from Powell, stays patient, and then gets the ball to Keegan Murray on a 45 cut. But Kyrie Irving tries to, get vertical, leave his feet, and pressure the finish. But being a much smaller player, this ends in a foul and results in an and one. Grant Williams begins this possession, taking the Domantas Sabonis assignment, who is initiating the play. They get into a quick handoff with De'Aaron Fox. And this actually creates a very interesting situation where Derek Lively has to be responsible for showing help at the nail, and Keegan Murray is spaced off from the 4-point line, and Fox just trusts that he's going to make a play, throws a great pass, and Murray just goes before the catch. So he attacks on a going catch. Lively is recognizing that he needs to get out, takes an angle that doesn't get the job done, and is now having to recover. And Murray just gets straight downhill and finishes with a scoop layup at the rim. This is an example of the challenge of giving up second chance opportunities to a team like the Kings. They come up with the offensive rebound. They get right into another high pick and roll with Sabonis. And with the Mavs continuing to play drop with Lively, since they don't really want to complicate the schemes too much, and there being weak side floor spacing threats to prevent there from being a tag, like from Grant Williams to make an aggressive play on the ball on the catch. What ends up happening here is Lively has to try to guard 2 with 1. He's unable to recover quickly enough and gets buried deep into the paint with Sabonis being physical. And also the crafty up fake into a inside move results in Sabonis, drawing Josh Green, leaving his feet, and then drawing the foul to get to the free throw line. The Mavs will need Lively to be able to cut off that roll and be more physical early on to prevent that deep positioning to put the unit at a disadvantage. From a process standpoint, this was actually a pretty effective overall play. The Mavericks basically doubled the post, swarmed around the half court, made the necessary rotations. Josh Green went from doubling on one side of the floor to getting to the opposite corner, and Duarte attacked off the catch, knowing that this was going to be to his advantage, getting ran off the line, gets to short range, and Derek Lively recognizes he needs to contest this short range pull-up, and that's the type of shot you would want to give up, if anything, and Duarte just makes the play. The Mavericks double Sabonis in the post once again on this play, but this time it relies on Luka making a closeout, and he doesn't really close out hard and tries to essentially not allow Fox to blow by him, but at least still get a hand up, and that's just the type of shot where the offensive player knows they're going to get a clean look, and Fox made the Mavs pay. For whatever reason, after already being lit up by Fox on pull-up threes, they under the ball screen here, and Sabonis does a good job of making contact with Lively to prevent him from basically getting out on this shot attempt. When the switch is finally made, there seems to be either just a lack of willingness to pick up the ball and to take pride in fighting over a screen, or expecting others to handle responsibilities without the proper communication by calling out the switch. Having to handle an offense as an inexperienced player that has a lot of movement can be challenging. As you can see, as this play develops, Lively has some indecisiveness, and Fox takes advantage, attacking off the catch after Lively is late to recognize where he needs to be, and this results in Fox getting to the free throw line after drawing a foul. This was a really impressive possession from the Kings. They had Malik Monk sell Josh Green on potentially using this ball screen from Sabonis. Instead, he rejects it with a crossover, gets downhill, and then with Powell playing in a drop, Monk is able to get into that live dribble, bounce pass in the pocket. And then Kyrie Irving had pre-rotated, looking to take a charge, get in position to deter Sabonis on the roll. But with Chris Duarte staying active on the 45 cut here, what happens is he's available under the basket for the pass after Sabonis draws two. Duarte then uses a pump fake to get any recovering defenders up in the air, and then throws it out to the wide-open Malik Monk, who then knocks down the shot against Kyrie Irving's run out. Irving made a great effort to get out on the shot, but sometimes good offense just wins out. Not getting into the ball and then having a big defender trying to cut off De'Aaron Fox deep on the drive is a recipe for a very tough set of circumstances for a defense to survive. And in this instance, with Fox rejecting the ball screen, he's able to comfortably get downhill. Derek Jones is never really able to recover and make an impact, and this is up to Powell to make the veer switch and then just basically salvage the play, and he leaves his feet with Fox getting to the top of the charge circle. And Fox just makes an incredibly athletic play. He's able to use this to his advantage by bringing the ball to the left side and finishing on the way down, and ends up getting this off the glass and making the layup. This was an interesting play, read and react situation by Malik Monk. He had the ball as the shot clock kind of was winding down with 10 seconds left, really starts to get into an attack. Derek Jones did try to get in the ball early on, but makes a, play on the ball, gets beaten off of that. This flows right into a ball screen with Sabonis. And as this happens, Monk makes the quick, just one pass away read to Keegan Murray, spacing out from the 4-point line. And he holds his positioning at the elbow long enough to where Derek Jones is going to commit to making this switch. And then Tim Hardaway, this was a lot to process without having, any direct line of sight. So Jones is going to have to make this commitment to run out on Monk on the relocation. And this just ends up being just a little too slow of an overall sequence to be able to get out in time, and Monk makes the defense pay. This was really savvy read and react offense from the Kings here on this end of third quarter possession. Malik Monk reads that Dante Exum is pretty far off of his man in the corner, and makes this quick pass, darts the ball to him to attack baseline, and this just advances the advantage for the Kings. The ball finds the weak side corner, and there's a pass fake made, and watch what happens. Exum and Dwight Powell think they both initially need to get out on the shooter. None of them do, and then think they simultaneously have to help on the drive, and then this just results in Derrick Jones having to be responsible for 3 offensive players on the perimeter. And then as this occurs, this just leaves Keegan Murray on the strong side just completely wide open for the catch-and-shoot 3, and he makes the Mavs pay. I suspect the Mavericks are going to have to tighten up on-court communication in these scramble situations. The Kings played through JaVale McGee on the elbow, and this resulted in a quick handoff and a step-up screen. And De'Aaron Fox was able to get downhill. While this develops, Keegan Murray, who was being guarded by Luka Doncic, exited using a corner pin-in screen. Luka, as you can see, signals for the switch, and this ends up causing Luka to have to account for Malik Monk out on the perimeter, with Fox getting into a handoff for him. And, Josh Green committing to Keegan Murray as Luka communicated for him to do. And, shot clock's 10 seconds or less at this point. And then now Luka has to get in the ball. He tries to do his best to hold his own out on an island. And Monk is just too quick, too crafty. Beats him with a crossover. Luka tries to reach in. And this is a blow-by at this point. He turns the corner and then draws Kyrie Irving deep on the drive and help, but then makes the drop-off pass after drawing Derek Lively on the commitment as well. And McGee just finishes this one in the dunker spot. With the Kings pushing the ball, they already had a mismatch that they liked with Tim Hardaway Jr. stopping the ball against Fox, and he just gets into a quick, break down the defender sequence here with the size up, goes between the legs a couple of times, and then knows he can just explode downhill attacking left, play through the bump with the contact on his right hip, and he just hangs in the air and finishes the short-range jumper. The Mavs will need a little bit more juice from Derek Lively when recovering after helping. In this instance, Luka Doncic, the low man, gets beaten on the closeout attack by Harrison Barnes. Kyrie Irving handles the switch here. They communicate it, and then, the size disadvantage, Derek Lively feels compelled to make his presence felt, as he should, in the paint and help. But then when recovering back to Sabonis, he doesn't really rotate over quickly enough to really pressure this push shot, and Sabonis makes him pay. The Kings look to play out of the corner with another action here, with Luka Doncic often being responsible for that, to pick on him. This instance, the Kings, have that 45 cut. Luka stays attached to the cutter, and this puts Kyrie Irving into the action, accounting for Chris Duarte on the zoom handoff. And instead of getting into that ball screen really quickly, Duarte just kind of uses a jab to set up the screen for himself more effectively, then gets into that screen contact. And now with Lively, stepping back into a drop after initially being closer to the level, there's a pocket pass available there that Duarte takes advantage of with the no-look. And then Grant Williams tries to disrupt Sabonis' rhythm by stabbing at the ball while he's accounting for the corner shakeup. But Lively just doesn't step up quickly enough to really pressure the push shot, and Sabonis makes a pay, hitting front rim and it bouncing in. On this last possession we're going to look at, due to the score and the rest of the context being the Mavericks mostly clearing out their bench, Lively leaves his feet against a face-up fake from Sabonis, who's able to attack baseline, and then is able to get into a reverse, finishing on that left side of the rim. He uses his left hand. This is exactly what he wants to get into. And Tim Hardaway Jr. was just unable to provide enough of an impactful resistance, making a play on the ball as this developed, with Sabonis finishing on the way down. Thank you to everyone that watched this video all the way through, and even if you didn't, I appreciate you. I really appreciate everyone that has taken the time to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow, and if you like and leave a comment on this video, that only helps as well. Thank you, and see you next time.